Okay, we are live. All right, everybody, thank you for joining us. Today I have Mr. Adam Abramowitz joining us today. You want to introduce yourself to everyone and let them know who you are, Adam?
Sure. Thanks for having me today, Adam Abramowitz. I have my boxing website, SaturdayNightBoxing.com. I'm also a contributing writer to Ring Magazine. I'm on the Ring Ratings Board, on the Transnational Boxing Board, and Transnational Boxing Rankings Board, and really looking forward to talking about the fights today. Thanks for having me on.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. I didn't realize I was on mute. Your Ratings
All right.
magazine panel. Can you let them know what your duties as far as
Sure.
that in the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
transnational?
Yeah. So we're looking at all the fighters across the world, and we're ranking them, and not just pound for pound, but also going through all the divisions and putting our nominations together. Both those boards are there are some similarities and some differences. One is made up of primarily people who write and contribute to the ring, and the other is kind of more of a mixture of 50 people from around the world who follow boxing very closely. Most of them are writers or in the media as well. And so it requires people to have a pulse on not just the big names of the sport, but the action that's going on across boxing. And it's been for the most part enjoyable. And can't say that I agree with every decision ever made by either panel, but I enjoy giving my input, and it's been a good experience.
Yeah. Um, okay, so we're going to get started with this weekend's cards. We have two cards coming up this weekend. With two major cards coming this weekend. Um, the Anthony Joshua versus Franklin, and his on his undercard we have a good heavyweight matchup: Fabio Wardley versus Michael Polite Coffee. Can you tell us about what you know about each of those fighters?
Sure. Wardley is a guy who came late to boxing and agree. He didn't really have an amateur background. He was actually doing like white collar boxing, I think, for a while, and he just had a big punch, and he decided to give it a shot. And on his way up, he's been knocking out pretty much everybody. Does seem to have a chin problem to a degree. He's already in a couple of wars. Um, so he's kind of a guy that you can't really dismiss because he has a big right hand, but doesn't have that amateur background. Doesn't have a lot of like good rounds against the top opponent in his career. Coffee is another late starter to boxing. I believe he was in the U.S. military for a while. He's already in his mid 30s, I believe. Was kind of moving up pretty fast. He was on a lot of the PBC cards. Ran into Johnny Rice, who's a capable journeyman fighter, and Rice kind of cleaned his clock twice, and then I believe Coffee went back to have another fight in England, and lost again, and so he's already 36, and he's probably not going to get too many. Oh, I'm sorry, he was against Hovasi for his last loss, so he's off to fight Wardley. Coffee can hit hard. He's fairly basic, in terms of he's not going to do anything unexpected. Um, Kind of has like thudding power. I think Wardley will have a significant edge in hand speed and probably one shot power significantly. And so that's kind of how that matchup looks to me, as if Wardley probably is a bigger threat for one punch knockout artist, but Coffee, if he can get going, especially early, Wardley's already been down, I think, twice in his career, or at least has been hurt twice. I think he's been down at least once that I know of. Doesn't seem like he has a great chin either. So I'm not looking to see this fight going the distance. I expect this to be a shootout, and I actually think Wardley winds up on top here. There's a chance he could blow out Coffee really fast. And there's also a chance that this could be fun for a few rounds until it's decided. Don't know if you're
Yeah.
on mute.
Someone asked a question. Wardley said,
Yep.
"Did he used to play rugby?"
Okay.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Hello.
Yes.
Someone asked about Wardley. Did he used to play? Is that a guy that used to play rugby?
I don't know offhand if you played rugby or not. I don't remember if that's the case.
Okay. Okay. All right, and I was looking through Wardley's like earlier fights. He's 28 years old, but he has some decent wins for a guy about his age. Eric Molina, Nick Webb, Nathan Gorman. So coming in, he should be able to handle Rice, like you said. So if you had to take a look at this fight and guess the most possible outcome, which way would you pick it? Would you pick it Wardley by KO, Wardley points,
Yeah.
or which way?
Yeah. I'd like Woodley by KO in this fight. And then if you want to, I don't think this fight's going the distance either way. I don't think Coffey's set up to go the distance really in a tough fight, and I think both guys have shown some chin issues. I don't think the fight's going the distance at all, and I would pick Wardley for the stoppage.
Okay. All right, sorry about that. I was having a little, seemed like Wi-Fi problems. I connected directly to the Ethernet just in case. Okay, excuse me. Also, you have on it's pretty close fight, but they gave the White the nod. Prior to that Dillian White fight, Mr. Jermaine.
I think you're cutting in and out a little bit, so I'm not sure I heard that fully. I think we're going to transition.
Is that better?
Franklin.
Is this better?
Yeah.
Yeah. Before the White fight, how much did you know about Jermaine Franklin, and how do you think he handled himself in the White fight?
So I thought Franklin boxed really well in the White fight. I had seen him before in Showbox in a really close fight that he won. That was debatable. He had a fight that got canceled against Stefan Shaw that was supposed to be a battle of undefeated American heavyweights. Franklin does have a decent amateur background. He's been a sparring partner in a lot of camps over his career. He's skilled. It's interesting that he came in like 25, 23 pounds lighter than he did against White. I don't think he was in the best of shape against White, but he still fought very well. I thought he had an argument for possibly winning that fight. I don't think it was a robbery by any stretch, but I think he definitely, draw could have been certainly fair. But we also have to acknowledge that he was badly hurt in the last round of the fight. Really badly hurt. I think he was surprised or fortunate to get to the end of the fight. I'm not sure he would have made another round or two, but he fought very well. He has quick hands. He can counter well. Doesn't seem to have an enormous punch, but he can land on the button. So I thought he performed well. His stock raised even in a loss.
What do you think about his decision to come in a lot lighter this time than he was in a White fight?
Yeah, I don't know what to make of it. I found it to be somewhat surprising because, if I'm fighting a bigger puncher, I want to be able to take the punch. And I guess you could say that it's possible that he thinks he could maneuver around a little bit better. And he definitely wasn't in the best of shape against White. But, I don't think Franklin is going to be a guy who can circle Joshua, go around the ring and try and out-cute him for a decision. So I think this is a very risky strategy, and I am concerned at this lighter weight. Listen, Dillian White's a pretty good puncher, but he's not the puncher that Joshua is. And even in those fights against Usyk, Joshua landed a lot of hard stuff in that. It just so happens that Usyk has a tremendous chin. I'm concerned about his ability to take Joshua's best punch coming in this light.
Yeah, I agree. I'm looking back at some of his previous weights. He was 240 against Jerry Forrest. Did you see the Jerry Forrest fight?
Yeah, that's the one that I was talking about on
Yeah.
Showbox, where I think I scored it for. I think I scored to Forrest by maybe 2 points. It was a very close
Yeah,
fight.
same. Same here. Yeah.
That it wasn't a robbery, but I don't think White looked great in that fight. To be honest with you, I'm sorry. I don't think Franklin looked great in that fight. He's looked better in other scenarios. Forrest is also kind of a tricky guy. If you don't get him out early, he can make you look bad. I think Franklin's capable. I think he's like a fine B-level guy, a perfect fight to beat Joshua. I'm really interested to see how Joshua is going to look with Derek James. I think that's a new dynamic. I expect Joshua to be sitting down in his shots and, looking to be a little more aggressive than he has been and looking to make a statement. So I think he should enter the Franklin fight, even though coming off a couple losses. I think he's going to have a lot of confidence with James's style, with his self-belief as a puncher. And then, I don't want to say that Franklin can't hurt Joshua. We've seen Ruiz drop Joshua. I think if Franklin's shown that he could be creative with his countering, I think Joshua has to fight his game, be smart, but be aggressive and, and put punches together. And, I like him in the matchup. I like Joshua in the matchup, and I think he gets the job done, and I think he eventually looks good in the fight. I'm not expecting him to come right out of the bell and get rid of Franklin in a round or two, but I think he gets the job done. And if I had to pick, I would pick some type of stoppage in the second half of the fight. I think that sounds right to me.
Yeah, if you get I don't know the over under for the number of rounds for this fight. Well, if anybody knows the over under, put it in the chat for me. I would guess it'd probably be somewhere around 9.5, maybe. Is this a 12-round fight? This is 12 rounds, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this is 12 rounds. What do you think about Joshua's decision to come in at his career heaviest?
Yeah, I don't think that bothers me. I looked at him and I try not to. I thought he looked fine, to be honest. I mean, he's heaviest by like a couple of pounds from the Takam fight, maybe a pound heavier. I'm not concerned. I think he looked in good shape. I think James's fighters are usually in good shape. I think he probably, did some muscle work. And I also think that, remember, he was trying to lose weight for the Usyk fight, especially the first one. He went in there thinking he was going to try and outbox Usyk and outmaneuver him. And I think he's probably just getting more to a comfortable weight. I think honestly, I looked at him. I didn't, I can't say his gas tank's going to be 100% because we have to check that out. Joshua's never really fought like 12 great rounds together yet. So that's kind of a feature of him. Like there are always questions about his gas tank, but I'm not concerned in isolation about him coming in at 255 or whatever.
I agree. All right. So best bet scenario, Joshua to win by KO.
Yeah.
9 rounds, 9.5 rounds.
I like Josh. It depends. As I said, it really depends on what people see. Like, oftentimes you could get, gets knockout in round 7 through 12, is one of the bets you'll see on sites or, fight doesn't Joshua winning. And I like him to win. And I like him to get the stoppage in the second half. I couldn't tell you if it's going to be, round 7 or round 10 or something, but it's going to go rounds. And I would expect him to apply increasingly more pressure and get through with some big shots. And somewhere in the second half, and I don't think it's going to be like the 12th round. I don't think it's going to be like that. I mean, I think it's going to be, 7 through 10 or something like that. I think that range sounds about right to me.
Yeah, they actually had somebody just posted. They put 7.5 over under 7.5. Okay.
Yeah, and that's a good number.
All right, another fight which I saw you earlier. Okay, a fight I saw you talk about earlier this week that you said you like is the Joet Gonzalez versus Enrique Vivas.
Yeah, and or he's also known as Jose Vivas, but yeah, Jose Enrique Vivas, however they have him. Really good fight between like B-level guys at 126 pounds. Vivas has sprung some upsets against some decent fighters. He's gotten outclassed before. Joet Gonzalez, whenever he's kind of moved up. He fought Navarrete. He fought Shakur Stevenson. Has shown he can't really win at that elite level. But at this step down, this is a really good matchup between aggressive punchers, but not knockout punchers. These are guys that kind of are more like bangers and wear people down. So I think there's a bet here that makes a lot of sense, which is to pick the over. Even if you don't know who's going to win, I think the over is going to be a good bet here. I expect this fight to go the distance in a very good fight, and if there's a knockout, it could be something really late. I don't think either guy is really hits hard enough to end this fight early. If people, in terms of an odds play, I think Vivas is too much of an underdog. I think this fight should be much closer to 50-50. So from an odds perspective, if you're interested in, where do you get value for your money? Maybe you go Vivas here, but I definitely think the over is a good play. I think this fight is probably going to be a very good, either a distance fight or maybe something closes right at the end.
Okay, and see what fight go the distance. Okay, yeah. You can still get pretty good money on fight going the distance also, which is minus 280, which is still pretty decent. I haven't really seen this guy Vivas, like I said, fight a lot. I heard you talking about him earlier. We all know Joet Gonzalez. We know pretty much his level is good enough to give a very good world level fighter some rounds and go the distance and test him a little bit, but he's not world championship level. Which is, nothing's wrong with that. Boxing needs some professional guys out there,
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. And another one. Now, this fight I'm curious about because I'm looking at the odds, but I've never seen this guy fight. I can't even pronounce his name. The guy who Jahai Tucker is fighting.
Yeah.
Nicholas
Seknishvili. I believe it's pronounced Seknishvili. So he's from the Republic of Georgia. He was a pretty good amateur, actually very good amateur. He's a sparring partner of Xander Zayas. Lost one fight in his career. He's 8-1, but he actually threw his back out during that fight, I think throwing a left hook, and winds up losing the fight by decision in New York. I believe this fight is supposed to be above 147 pounds, which is where Tucker has fought before. Tucker missed weight in his last fight, missed it so badly that he said he was going to be moving up. And why that's interesting is Seknishvili, I believe, has fought as high as 168 and has been gradually coming down. And the other interesting dynamic is that he's 29 and Tucker is 20. And I've liked Tucker a lot. He's one of these prospects that Top Rank wasn't initially like, he wasn't thought of as like the gem in their crew, but he's looked pretty good when I've seen him. Really knows what he's doing in the ring. He's a good operator, does a little bit of everything. But I'm very concerned about Seknishvili's physicality. He's just, the man strength. I think Tucker is going to have to fight a great fight to win this one. And this is another one of those fights where I just think the odds, I'm not saying Tucker loses, but I think the odds are out of line here. I think it's a very interesting gambling opportunity for those who, take a look at these fighters. Seknishvili throws a lot of power. Now, his big weakness is he doesn't throw a lot of shots. So there's a lot of room to hit him. He kind of follows guys around and looks to like wing big left hooks or right hands. Not as much of a jab as he should have. So Tucker will have some spaces to get his jab in, quick combinations. But I think Seknishvili has a big physicality advantage. He throws really hard, and I think there's a good opportunity he can muscle Jai Tucker around. I'm expecting a very close, rough, brutal, physical fight. I don't know if Tucker loses, but I don't think Seknishvili deserves to be a plus 390. I think he's probably he should be a slight underdog in my opinion.
Okay, I was looking at it. You said he fought up to
Yeah.
168. He actually fought all the way up to 177 and a half.
How about that?
That was
Yeah. Okay. How about
his
that?
debut was at 177 and a half. But yeah, he's been gradually coming down. 160, 164, 50. And you said this one
Yeah.
is slightly above 147?
I don't know if it's at the full 154-pound weight, but I think it's in the junior
All right,
middleweight
so
division.
uh,
And I see the question
okay.
of how many
Now
rounds does
they
it
have
tuck?
it here. How many total rounds does the fight? Is that what you're asking? It's an 8-round fight, Mashad.
Yeah, eight round. Oh, so those are some updated odds. Oh, will the fight go the distance? Yes, no. Yeah, I don't know if I'd play that one, but uh, as I said, I think it's an interesting. I think it's an interesting betting opportunity for Seknesvili. I just think that he's too much of a dog. I think it's going to be a very close fight. It could be one of those 5-3 type of fights. 4-4 type of fights. So I think there is some opportunities. I would expect Tucker to start off okay in the fight, and then it's going to be really what happens to me, after round 3 or 4 when Seknesvili kind of can break the distance or close the distance a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, the main one, my guy, Robisi Ramirez versus Isaac Dogbe. Dogbe's had a couple losses to the current, the former 126-pound champion. Matter of fact, they're going for the vacant belt that Navarrete vacated, correct?
It is the vacant belt. I think I don't remember why it's vacant. It could be the is it the Navarrete belt or the Vargas belt? I think it's the Navarrete belt. I think you're right.
Yeah, it's the Navarrete belt. Yeah, because he moved up. And my man Robisi Ramirez, who had a little trouble when he first started off as a pro, lost his first one.
Yeah, I was at that fight.
He's been since then. He's been looking great.
Yeah, I was at that first fight.
He's been looking great since that fight.
Yeah, I think
it wasn't in Philadelphia.
Yeah, he's been looking a lot better. I was concerned about his first few fights because he had a passive style where he didn't throw a lot of punches, and you do see this in some Cuban boxers that they make every punch count, but they also don't throw a lot. And so there was some. Ramirez, I think, also played with his food a little bit, and I have seen him turn the corner. I thought he looked great in that Abraham Nova fight, as good as I've ever seen when he had that knockout win last year. He does look more aggressive. He is sitting down his punches better. I think there is, there's a little more fire with him. I like him to win the fight. He is a big favorite, and I think that's the way it should be. I am concerned about Dogbe's ability to take shots. I've seen him hurt in his last few fights. Even when he's won them, he's won a lot of close fights too. I believe his last 3 wins were all split decision or majority decision, something like that. All of his fights have been really nip and tuck at a certain level. I haven't liked how he's taken shots to the body. I don't want to call for the knockout because I've seen Ramirez, sometimes, be a little cautious with his offense. And also Dogbe does have that ability to bite down and gut out a fight. I mean, one of those Navarrete fights, the one that went the distance, I mean, he was in such bad shape, but he carried himself to the finish line. So I don't feel comfortable picking Ramirez by knockout. I just feel comfortable picking Ramirez to win. I think he wins the fight. I think he looks good. Maybe Dogbe wins a couple of rounds here and there, of Ramirez not being particularly busy or taking a break, but I don't think the fight will be particularly close. And I don't want to overthink it. I just think he wins the fight, and I don't want to, get into, well, is he going to get a 9th round stoppage or not? I don't know. I've just seen, I'm not convinced that he believes that he's a puncher. I've seen him land some amazing shots and hurt people, but I don't think that's necessarily part and parcel of who he is in the ring.
Yeah, that Abraham Nova fight stoppage really sold me on this stoppage that he's going to stop.
Oh, you think he gets the stoppage here?
I think he gets the stoppage.
Could be.
Stop it. The thing about this, that if you bet him to stoppage, or if you bet them by points, it's still the same. It's plus 120 by stoppage or plus 120 by point. So whichever way y'all feel comfortable betting that one, or just bet it straight up. So to recap, we had Fabio Wardley by stoppage, and Anthony Joshua by stoppage.
Yeah.
This fight by just straight up Robeisy Ramirez. The Tucker versus Shvili. Can I say this guy's name again?
Shikashvili.
Yes, Shikashvili's. Your final one on that one was?
Well, my thought is, if you like an upset pick, that's a good pick. I'm not saying he wins that fight, but I just think he should be much closer from an odds perspective. So I would encourage people to look at that as a possible upset. I expect it to be, I'm not saying it's a definite, I'm just saying it's going to be a very close nip and tuck fight, 5-3, 4-4, kind of one of those fights. So if then he has to win that decision, of course, too. So this being boxing and it's your money, a note of caution. I'm just saying that I think those odds look a little wide. And then the Vivas Gonzalez fight, I picked the over there. I think the over is a very good bet. I like the over there. You said it was like a plus or a minus 280 on the over.
Yes, I think it was minus 2. Yeah,
I honestly, I think this fight was going to go the distance. So I think that's an interesting place to make money. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Two more things before we go, Adam.
Sure.
What was your thoughts yesterday? I'm putting your site up here right now. If y'all don't know, Adam also has a website called SaturdayNightBoxing.com.
Yep.
And his latest post is one of opinions and observation about Benavidez' Plant. You want to tell her what was your thoughts on that fight last weekend?
I thought Benavidez, with the opponent he was up against and the tricky style, I thought he looked very good. I really did. And especially once he got going. And there are a couple of things that really impressed me. One is once he started getting to the fight around the third and fourth round, he started getting through the left hooks. And then he switched up every round. He seemed like he went to something else. Then it was the over-the-top right hand, and then it was the left hook to the body, and then it was the right uppercut, and then it was combinations. He just showed just a very impressive offensive arsenal against a tricky opponent. I'm not bothered that he didn't get the stoppage, because I think with a fair ref, he would have gotten the stoppage. I think Kenny Bayless was just awful that night, just atrocious.
Wow, he was so bad, man.
He was so bad. Listen, it's in some ways, I thought he put a bigger beating on Plant than Canelo did. And some people got very upset about it. Well, Canelo knocked him out and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, that fight was, to me, a little more competitive. I know Canelo got the job done and looked good finishing him off. But, I thought the Benavidez fight could have been stopped in the 8th round, the 9th round, the 10th round, the 11th round. I mean, the guy was putting on a beating. And one of the things I said at the end of the article was, I wouldn't feel comfortable picking Benavidez against. I wouldn't feel comfortable picking against Benavidez with anybody at 168 or his surrounding weight classes. I'm not saying he wins every fight at 168 or 175, but I'm saying that I wouldn't feel comfortable picking against him. He's that good. I think his offense is that dynamic. I think he's getting better. I like that he's rededicated himself to the sport after failing his second, after losing his second belt. I have seen a difference in him. I was not a huge fan of his on his way up. So this isn't me being a David Benavidez, like I'm in the tank for him. He's impressed me. He's had to show it to me. I believed he didn't take the sport seriously enough on his way up. And I think he's really turned a corner. And I'll say right now, I would pick him over Canelo if they fought next. Then I'm not saying the odds would show that, but I'm telling you that I would pick Benavidez to win a fight over Canelo with fair judges.
Yes.
With fair judges.
And yeah, he's so young. You know what I think it is, and a lot of problem with a lot of these guys, they fight to the level of their competition. Like I always tell these guys are human like us. Okay, he's not going to get up for who was the last guy he fought? Not Lemieux, but for the Lemieux of the world. Yeah. When he knows he can roll out of bed and beat those guys.
Ronald Ellis.
Yeah, Ronald Ellis. Yeah, but you the more constantly that you put them there with the top level opposition, the better they're going to show themselves. The ones that's got real talent.
I think that's true for some guys, but I that might be. I just think Benavidez got to a point. He's now I think only 24 or 25. I
26,
just
26.
I think he woke up and he's like, I'm taking my career seriously now. I want to be a top fighter. I mean, listen, I'm sure he saw what happened to his brother. You know, his brother was shot. His brother was probably one of the best amateurs in the U.S. at a point in time, probably number one, and didn't get to the heights that a lot of people predicted for him. And the evidence is there. If you're not on the straight and narrow in this sport, this sport can change real fast for you. So, for me, for Benavidez, I needed to see that that dedication and that willingness to want to get better. And I've seen it in the ring. And Plant, fought, I think, as well as he could fight, and it wasn't nearly enough to beat Benavidez, in my opinion.
Yeah, matter of fact, he did move from Arizona to the Pacific Northwest to get away from that environment. So yeah, you are correct on that. David Benavidez did.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, initial thoughts on the big fight that was announced yesterday: Benavidez, Devin Haney versus Vasyl Lomachenko, which I'm hyped
for. Interesting fight. This was rumored to be fought 3 years ago, right? When Haney was a mandatory and wanted that fight, and Lomachenko wound up not going that route and became super champion and all that stuff. I think Lomachenko probably would have won that fight 3 years ago, because I don't think Haney had the opponents yet and the tough rounds. But I think the fight against Linares, the fight against Jojo Diaz, the experience of being on the road and winning 2 decisions in a hostile environment in Australia, I think he has the seasoning now. I think he's closer to his prime. I don't think Lomachenko looked particularly good against Jermaine Ortiz at all.
No, he looked horrible in that fight.
Yeah. I mean, I think he deserved to win. I don't think it was a robbery by any stretch. But we all saw what happened with Teofimo Lopez, where he clearly lost that. I think this fight is set up for Haney to win if he performs well. But, it's a question of if Haney performs to his abilities, he wins the fight. But I don't think that's a certainty. Lomachenko can be a very tough nut to crack. He's going to have his moments in the fight. There'll be some oohing and aahing, from whatever. But I just think Haney is at his prime. He has physical gifts. He has really good legs. He's a great jab. I think it's his fight to lose. I'll put it to you that way. I like him. If I had to pick, I'd pick him. But I'm not going to say that it's a sure thing or a certainty. But he's my favorite.
Yeah. I see a lot of guys. They made a lot like Boogs and this Rito. They both made good points that this fight will be won or lost. I think within the second half of the fight, where Lomas usually starts to come on, and sometimes we'll see Devin get complacent or start to fade.
Yeah,
through 12 around there.
Well, the other thing too is I have noticed that Haney does this thing, and I saw this in the first Kambosos fight, which was a really good performance. But he does this thing where he sometimes will do enough to win rounds, and I think he just needs to make sure he's winning rounds decisively.
Yes.
He needs to be clear. It's not enough to land. Yes, you have a good jab, but the thing is, Lomachenko can look fantastic for 10 or 15 seconds, and he has the ability to steal rounds. And so I think Devin just has to understand that he needs to win rounds clearly, and he needs to stay on point. And, if he stays within himself, I think he can win this fight and look really good. But, there are risks here, and it's a good fight. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so am I. I cannot wait. Thanks a lot for joining us, Adam. You got anything else you want to plug?
No. Nothing. Got good stuff. I'm really looking forward to the Tank Garcia fight coming up. I'll definitely be writing a lot about that. But in terms of plugging, I had the Benavidez Plant. I was supposed to have an Ortiz Stanionis preview article coming out this week for the Ring.
God.
Yeah, but that, it's funny. I did like a keys to the fight type of article. And my first key was the health of the fighters, which I never write about. But for this fight, I had concerns about both guys. I had the issue with the Ortiz with the rhabdomyolysis. And then I had some concerns with Stanionis coming back too fast from an appendectomy. And I thought both of them were real problems because I'm not convinced that Ortiz should be fighting at 147 anymore. And then I'm not convinced, just delaying a fight 6 weeks off for an appendectomy was great either. So
Yeah.
that was a real concern for me for both guys. And it turned out to be a legitimate concern because now the fight's called off, and it doesn't sound like it's going to be happening, a month or two later. I mean, this looks like it's going to be pushed back quite a bit if it happens at all.
Yeah, I know. Might as well give. We had tickets to that fight. We had a lot of nice.
It's a good fight. It was a really good fight. And it was the right fight for both guys where they are in their career. It was the right fight.
Yep. Too bad we won't get it. Well, they could just send me my money back, man, because I have a feeling it's not happening at all, to be honest with you. I think Virgil might be moving up.
Yeah.
I think he might be moving up. Yeah. All right. Thanks again, Adam, for joining us. And if anybody want to follow him on Twitter that's not on Twitter, it's SN Boxing at SN Boxing, correct?
Yep.
And also his site is Saturday Night Boxing. You can check him out. He does some work for The Ring also. So check him out on all platforms. Thanks again for joining us, Adam. And thank everybody for joining in and listening to us. Please hit the like, subscribe, and share the channel. Y'all take it easy.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.